is a fantastic book. It has so many things in it. We're not going to go over all of them. I'm going to do a short article later that will have a bit more detail. But the biggest thing is this is well worth getting. I took anthropology as part of my BA, and there was a talk about human mutations, evolution, humans changing. And so there was already something that interested me about genetics. He's gone to the sports genetic arena, which is really interesting because it tells us a lot about how we function. The main discussion in the book is genetics more important than practice? And I think the conclusion is yes, to a degree. So if you and I are soccer players and I practice and practice and practice, you kind of practice, but you still outrun me, outscore me, outplay me, it's likely genetics. And that's going to be discovered probably around the age of 12. However, if I'm bigger and stronger than you, maybe soccer's not the game I should play. Maybe what I should be on is the football field. That's just kind of an example. Is you want to play the sport, if you want to excel, that your genetics orients you towards. Now, if you take two players, so you're a really good soccer player and somebody else is a really good soccer player, it's evenly matched genetically, practice will probably make all the difference. Practice needs to be appropriate, meaning not overwhelming, not underwhelming, just the right amount for each individual. Okay, so one of the big things in the sports gene that David Epstein gets into is eyesight and perception. So he talks about Jenny Finch, who was a softball player. And they put up Jenny Finch against people like Barry Bonds eventually. And Barry Bonds could not hit one of her underhand softball throws. So if you think of a fastball going upwards of 90 miles an hour plus, then think about softball only going maybe 60 miles per hour. Why wouldn't Barry Bonds be able to hit the ball? Or other elite, none of them could hit her balls. So what they figured is it was knowing where the ball was going to go before it actually went. They call this reading into the future. So with a pitcher, basketball pitcher, you can, I guess, tell from the way their body is where that ball is going to go. However, I guess with a slow pitch, underhand throw, you can't, or it's a lot harder. Why I want to bring this up is Janet Starks, maybe 40 years ago, did a study of the Canadian national volleyball team, the women's team. And in that, she found that if she flashed cards, some with volleyball in it, some with not, the lead athletes often knew which card, even though it went so fast, had a ball in it, and which ones didn't. Whereas the less elite volleyball players really struggled with that. Maybe they got 50%, maybe they got less. One of the athletes was able to actually say, in a lot of cases, what team was on that picture with the ball in it or not in it. I think of this because I think of a Wayne Gretzky or Catherine Sinclair. They both retired now, but knowing where the puck or the soccer ball is on the field and how important that is to change position. I'm not saying they're the only ones. I imagine LeBron James, or pick any sport, especially team sport, where you've got an elite athlete. They probably just know where that ball is. They probably have that kind of vision. So this makes a big difference. Again, which players you want where. If you want players who can adapt, you want them to have that kind of vision. And that was another discussion in the book. He also talks about TMC, which is a heart condition, genetic heart condition, and how that can affect people. You can have people running the Boston Marathon dropping dead, and there's other events where people have just dropped dead, basically. And that could be a genetic code, and I think you can get tested for that. There's also sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell is when one or half the blood cells have a sickle cell, so they don't hold oxygen as well. However, it's supposed to help fight off malaria. In sports, they didn't find a lot of difference until people started running the 800-meter dash. Then I guess they would just they would gasp. I'm not saying they died, but they would gasp. So these again are just a few of the things he touches on. But this is why I think if you wanted to know more about why athletes can do something, or why you personally are good in one sport, maybe not so good in another, it really answers those questions. But genetics definitely, I would say, is a priority of practice, unless you're genetically close to being equal. Then practice probably makes all the difference in the world. So I'll hold the book up for you again. And like I said, I'm going to write an article and post it on X or Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, etc., and on my website. So The Sports Gene by David Epstein. Highly recommend.